All right, everyone, welcome to another episode 27 of Talk with Jordan, High Tech on the Low. Hillel, how are you this morning?
Wow, you are good. You are like born for radio, my friend.
Well, you know what? This is what I like about it, I guess. The person who gives a compliment before I even started. There you go.
I'm just saying, like, some people have radio voices, some people have radio faces.
Okay.
Because they're not very good in front of the camera.
Okay.
You have both.
I have both. Okay.
Two compliments in one.
There we go. Or you're saying I have a radio face. Keep it behind the scenes.
Actually, no. That was an insult. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
was
You do
gonna
not
say.
have a radio face.
Yeah, you have the radio face. I have the TV face and the radio voice.
There
But
you go.
how are you this morning? Everything good?
I mean, I'm, chilling in Tel Aviv with iced coffee in my hand. What could be bad?
I mean, I would say life's pretty good for you at this point.
Pretty good.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is a podcast sponsored by the Front Team Communities, where we host 3,000 people in the startup ecosystem in Israel, and we answer 6 different verticals. And I'm very, very excited to now have you on the show because I just, first of all, I like you. I think you're a cool guy. I've been following your content for a while, and
I'll tell my wife you said that.
Okay, well, tell your wife and maybe a few other people too. See how I can get involved in the Fuld family household.
Done.
But I wanna kind of get this started with something that I think that you do very well, and something that I think is something that needs to be talked about in the startup space, which is this whole idea of promotion and specifically self-promotion, right? I think a lot of startupists are out there and they're trying to get their idea out there, trying to boost themselves in the space, make themselves leaders, as we all say, the buzzword of leadership in the space. But how do you actually go about doing it? How do you do it well? As we were even talking before this, there's no word called subtlety in Hebrew. How do you go about this? What are your kind of takeaways? And we'll dive into it in more deep text. But give me your take.
When you said that the topic today is self-promotion, what was my response? How did I react?
You were literally like, I don't like it.
I rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
You're like, are you serious?
Yeah, because self-promotion, the words, literally the word self-promotion to me, like, I have very negative connotations, because for every one company or for every one person that does marketing the right way, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of startups that are just like self-promoting all day, and like, do it right. And again, you mentioned subtlety, but marketing, in my opinion, the fundamental difference between marketing and sales, both of them at the end of the day need to sell a product, right?
Sure.
And so there are many tactical differences. One takes longer, one takes short. That's fine. But I'm
Definitely.
talking fundamental difference. Like the strategic difference, in my humble opinion, is one word: subtlety. Marketing, you don't feel like you're being marketed to.
Right.
When someone's calling you on the phone and selling you something, you're speaking to a salesman. Marketing, the best type of marketing is when you don't know you're being sold to. Marketed to. So that's called subtlety, right?
Right.
In other words, telling a story without, selling something. And so you look at companies or brands like Red Bull.
Okay.
For example, Red Bull doesn't have the word beverage on their website.
Literally,
at all.
Never. If you go on the Red Bull website today, you're not going to find beverage?
No.
Wow.
They jump in out of planes.
They
right?
just have drinks?
They don't have drinks. It's all content and lifestyle. It's a lifestyle company, and that lifestyle content sells drinks. And so the best brands out there are doing very little direct self-promotion. But there are ways to promote yourself, meaning a person or a brand or a company, without the recipient of that marketing activity knowing that they're being sold to, meaning they don't feel like you're promoting yourself, but in essence you are.
So what are some tactics that you can go about doing that? Because let's say we're not all Red Bull, right? We don't all have, millions of content creators out there. We haven't created this huge brand yet. We're trying to get ourselves up and running. Maybe we don't have even the best product yet in a certain sense. We're just getting started. How do I promote myself?
How long do we have? Because this is a long conversation.
Well, we have until you're done, right?
So I'll give you the strategy, high level, and then we'll talk tactics. Okay? High level, in my humble opinion, the best way to, I'm going to throw out the word self-promotion. Let's talk about creating a brand. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Creating a brand, because that's already legitimate. I feel like self-promotion is already like frowned upon in today's marketing world, but building a brand, which is in essence the same thing. You're building a brand, you're promoting yourself, right?
Right.
So to me, the best way to do that, and this is what I've done all the years, and I'll explain to you, you'll get it in a second.
Okay.
Once I start explaining, you'll be like, oh my God, yeah, you do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Is to build a stage. Okay? Whether it's a virtual stage or a real life stage, a stage.
Right.
And you decide, as the brand, who gets to stand on that stage.
So it's your soapbox. You're deciding who's on it.
100%. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I was CMO of a startup. We launched a TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco. We won the Audience Choice Award. Microsoft invested. It was going phenomenal.
Okay.
Right? I come over to the founders and I'm like, guys, things are going great, but how do we kick it up a notch? So I came up with an idea, and the idea was to have it was in the messaging space. Right? It was basically a Slack competitor before Slack. And so I said, let's host a summit in New York, the Messaging Summit, right? About the messaging space. We called it, the name of the company was Zula, but we called it the Zula Summit, but it was about the messaging space.
Okay.
Nothing to do with us at all, okay?
So then why are you doing this? You're just having a summit.
Hear me out,
okay,
man.
well, I gotta let you. Okay, my bad.
We're getting there.
All right, audience at home, listen up.
So I said to the founders, let's host a summit, and they're like looking at me like I fell off of Mars. And then Microsoft, our investors, are like, "What are you talking? You have like 2.5 users. Get users. Don't worry about summits." And I'm like, so I sold them on it. I said to them, "Listen, I'll take care of it. We'll get a venue in New York. I'll bring in speakers. You'll see what will happen. We will own this. We will become owners, or at least an authority in the space.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, they bought it. So listen what happened. I then reached out to a CEO of a big advertising company in New York, and I just know him my whole life. And he's like, yeah, I'll host, no problem. So we nailed.
Okay,
we got
so
a venue.
That was great. Now you have the
free venue, right?
Okay.
Then I reached out to my Rolodex, so journalists at Business Insider and Mashable and whatever, people that I'm just connected with, and I said I would love you guys to come speak. They're like, yeah, no problem, great. But then I was like, I gotta bring a keynote speaker that will blow everyone's mind.
Right, you gotta wow them.
Right. So I aimed high, and I DM'd Gary Vaynerchuk, who, if
Gary
anyone's...
V. Everyone knows Gary V.
Whoever doesn't know Gary V, Google him.
Yeah,
but not now. Wait till after the podcast. And so I DM'd him on Twitter, because, we follow each other, and we've known each other for years. I said, Gary, I want to bring you as a keynote speaker to the summit I'm putting together. And he responded immediately. He's like, okay, $50,000. I'm like, listen, we don't really have budget. It's early stage, blah, 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 blah. About 2 minutes later, I get an email from Gary to his assistant, CCing me, saying, please waive the $50,000 for Hillel. He's a friend. And so we brought Gary V as the keynote speaker. We had lines around the block. The thing was completely sold out. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because the day before this summit, we were chasing our competitors. We were this tiny little startup. We had tons of competitors. The day after the summit, they were chasing us. We owned the space because we got to decide it's our stage, and we got to decide who stands on the stage. And without even mentioning us, without doing any self-promotion, people started to, understand that this company, Zula, was an owner because we established the stage. Okay, so that's
because you have your venue, you had your keynote speaker, you guys looked good,
and we brought in all the players. We're like, okay, Slack, you could be on the stage. Asana, you could be on the stage.
You don't care about your competitors at that point. You just want to get everyone involved.
Oh, we could do a whole podcast on competitors. That's a topic for another time. But no, absolutely do not have a problem highlighting competitors. It was great because, again, that day we established our brand as a leader. Okay, that's an extreme example because that's a real life stage. But let me tell you how easy this is to do in the virtual world. I'll give you 3 examples. One basic example, and again, you follow me, so you see me doing this, right? When I sit with someone, whether it's a founder or VC, whatever it is, what do? I always take the selfie. I always take the picture. And what do I write when I post that selfie? Generally.
Well, you're talking about them. You say you won't believe who I met today, or you won't. I need to show you this one, or I have to promote this guy.
So all these people that I'm meeting with are all rock stars.
Right.
They all have one thing in common. All of them. I'm standing right next to them. So what does that say about me? So I didn't even talk about myself, but by association, people are like, oh my God, this guy's a rock star, and Hillel's right next to him. Hillel's next to everyone. Right. Hillel must be a rock star.
Hillel knows every rock star, it must be.
But again, if I were to get up there and say we're both, obviously nobody would do that, but we're both rock stars. I'm amazing. No, then it's just like, what are you doing? Like, stop self-promoting. But if I'm promoting someone else, meaning I decided this is the stage, and that guy gets to stand on it, and I'm standing right next to him.
So is that kind of like the idea of subtlety there that you were bringing up before? The idea of association, not like, I guess, taking your blowhorn and being like, I'm a rock star, guys. I'm a rock star.
Other people decide I'm a rock star. I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
Right? So, that's a really basic example, but it works. And I've been doing it for years. That's a really basic example. I'll tell you 2 more examples that, again, I think once you hear them, you're going to be like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this? Okay. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I tell this to startups all the time. And it really does boggle my mind that not every single startup implements this because it's so brilliant in its simplicity. And it requires almost no effort, and it's instant ROI, instant return on investment, which, by the way, is very not characteristic for marketing. Marketing usually takes time.
Yeah.
Here's 2 examples. For lack of a better term, I'm going to call them growth hacks.
Okay.
But really, they're like super simple. It's basic human psychology, okay? First example. 8 years ago, I looked at my analytics on my blog, right? And I'm like, okay, I have nice traffic. Everything's going great. How do I kick it up a notch? And I'm like, I'm going to start interviewing people, but not just people. I'm talking Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz, who invented the web browser at Netscape. I'm talking Steve Wozniak from Apple, who literally invented the home computer. I'm talking Alyssa Milano, who I grew up having a crush on it, who's the boss, and crazy people, like completely like out of my league people, okay? So here's the first, I would say mind-blowing statistic. Out of the thousands of people that I've interviewed, whether it's on my blog, on my vlog, whatever it is, not one has ever said no to be interviewed. And not one has ever even asked me how many readers I have. You know why? Because everyone has a mom that they want to send the interview to and say, look, Mom, I was interviewed. Everyone has an ego. Everyone. Some have bigger egos. Every human being has an ego. And when you want to offer them a stage, why would they not want to be on stage? And let's be honest, Alyssa Milano doesn't need my stage, right? But it doesn't matter because she agreed to do the interview. Every other person agreed to do the interview. Now, what happens? Number one, let's take Mark Andreessen, right? This guy's a multi-billionaire. He invested in Slack and Facebook and Twitter. Yeah. Okay, so number one, Mark Andreessen has an inbox full of people that want his money. Then there's this one email in there from some random dude in Israel who doesn't want his money. Not only does he not want his money, he doesn't want anything from him. And not only does he not want anything from him, he wants to give him a stage.
And he just wants to talk to him. You just want to give him the platform.
So I've fundamentally differentiated myself from everyone else in his inbox. And I've established a relationship with Mark Andreessen, which is, if that was my only return on investment, it would be worth it, okay? Yeah. So now I'm on his radar, which, startups spend years trying to get on the radar of Mark Andreessen. I sent him a DM on Twitter. I'm like, I want to interview you. So now we have a relationship, okay?
Right.
It's a basic relationship. We're not best friends, but we know each other.
Sure.
Okay, that's your first ROI. The second ROI, I send the guy 10 questions by email. He sends me back 10 answers, right? Copy, paste on my blog, meaning company blog. I'm a company, right? I'm a brand. Or Hillel Fuld, his blog, whatever.
Yeah, but in this case, you're putting it on your blog. You're getting it out there for him.
So I send him 10 questions. He sends me 10 answers. I copy, paste, publish on my blog. Hit publish. What's the first thing he does?
He reads it. Sends it to his mom.
He reads it and then he shares it. So here I am in Israel getting Mark Andreessen's followers to come read my content. Like, there's not enough money in the world that you could pay to have Mark Andreessen tweet your article.
But what is that like kind of that you're doing there? Is that like a form of, I mean, I would say it's a form of humility, right? That you're kind of coming to him and saying, hey, I want you on my blog. Do you mind doing it? Like, it's yes or no, I'm okay. Like, if Mark Andreessen says no, it's fine.
You don't lose anything. But again, no one's ever said no to me. And so the second ROI, as soon as I hit publish, he shares it. I get boatloads of traffic, but not only a lot, quality, targeted traffic, because Mark Andreessen's followers are my audience,
right?
The tech world, right? So I get a relationship with a legend, a crazy amount of targeted traffic, and then the third thing that happens, and this is exactly what we're talking about now, everyone who sees that interview is like, oh my God, Hillel interviewed Mark Andreessen, and what happens to my brand? It gets elevated.
Okay.
So I didn't even mention my name,
right?
But I win on all counts.
But it's just like, now I know.
Right, so interviews are the most powerful, in my opinion, the most powerful content tool there is. And again, I tell this to startups every day. For the love of God, I don't know why every startup doesn't do this. From my perspective, every Wednesday in every company blog, there should be an interview. How long does it take you to write 10 questions?
Not hard at all.
5 minutes.
There you go.
So you start interviewing people in your space, and again, because you are defining the stage and getting to decide who stands on that stage, you become a rock star. There's a guy named Harry Stebbings. You know who that is?
No, who is that?
You should know who he is. He's your competitor. Not really, but Harry Stebbings is a kid.
I have to find him then, I guess.
He's a kid. He's probably in his 20s.
Okay.
And he started a podcast called 20 Minute VC.
Okay.
You familiar or you're not familiar?
No, I'm not familiar. I got to look it up.
Yeah, look it up because Harry Stebbings' 20 Minute VC podcast is about, I would say it's the most lucrative, exclusive podcast in Silicon Valley.
And he's just looking at the VC, or
he's just interviewing VCs.
Okay.
And every VC you can imagine has been on his podcast. And the guy is an absolute rock star. I think he started a fund right now, and it all started from this podcast. Because again, he decided who gets to stand on his stage. So that is the best way to build a brand. Make that stage, whether it's virtual or real life, and you decide who gets to stand on it, and everyone wins. And that's example number one.
Okay.
Or two. The third one. The same concept.
Well, I wanted to say before we get moving on to the third place, thank you for elevating the brand then, I guess, right? Because there's my Rockstar moment, I guess.
Okay.
I
don't know. I'm no Mark Andreessen, but I'll take it. Okay. So the third thing is the same concept, but on steroids. You know how many lists I've seen in my Facebook feed? It's right now 11:15 in the morning.
Okay.
In my Facebook feed this morning, I've probably seen at least 5 lists.
Well, I've probably seen 10.
Yeah, these lists, right? We're all like, oh my God, another stupid list.
Right.
You know what? We're both idiots.
Why?
Because we completely missed the point. Listen to this. There's a guy in Berlin. True story. There's a guy in Berlin who I don't know, never met him, never spoke, don't even know his name. He makes a list once a month of top 1,000 tech bloggers in the world.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know based on what metric. I don't know how, but he decided I'm number 7 or 8 tech blogger in the world. And I'm going to tell you something right now.
Okay.
Here's a scoop. That's complete BS.
Okay.
There's no metric in the world
that can decide.
No, there's no metric in the world by which I'm number 7 tech blogger. People under me on that list is Walt Mossberg. Who's a tech journalist before the word tech even he's the guy that Steve Jobs got off a stage and
But you're number 7.
I'm above him on the list. It just shows you how ridiculous the list is.
Okay.
But guess what? What do I do with that list?
You publish it, send it to Mark Andreessen, send it to the next guy,
get
it all going.
And I share it, and I share it. And guess what the other 999 bloggers do with that list?
Nothing.
They share it also.
Oh, they also share it?
Why not? They're on the list.
Okay. Well, then how are you doing so well? And how are you number 7, I guess?
That's the different discussion. But I'm saying is this guy who wrote this list has the world's top 1,000 tech bloggers sharing his list.
Okay.
You know what kind of traffic? You know what happens to his servers once a month? They melt.
They blow up.
So this guy has built an entire business out of building the stage of the top 1,000 tech bloggers. He's just some random dude.
Just lists.
So I say to startups all the time, let's say you're an AI company. As far as I'm concerned, on the 15th of every month on your blog, you should have a list of top 50 AI VCs, top 50 AI CEOs, top 50 AI I don't even care. Top 50 AI mustaches. I don't even care what the list is. Because you know why? Every one of those people wakes up tomorrow and gets a Google alert. They were featured on your blog. They're like, I never heard of this company. They click through, they come to the blog, they see it, and they share it.
And then you get
your traffic blows up your servers.
Sure.
And, again, this is all human psychology. So be smart about it. In other words, let's say you're doing a list. So make each person on the list is a thumbnail of their face with one line, but on top you have a collage of all the faces. Why?
Right.
Why is that important?
Why?
Because when you share it on Facebook, everyone sees their face, and then they're more inclined to share it.
And then they also see other people's faces, right? And they say, oh, you are also compared in the list to this person and that person, and Walt Mossberg and the next person, right?
So you make this list, and again, it takes you half an hour to make. I'll tell you an example. I made a list one time on my blog, I don't know, 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Top 20 Israeli couples in tech or siblings in tech.
Okay, interesting.
Cool idea, right?
Right.
Because I started to realize there are a lot of these. So
Like the Winklevi of Israel, sure.
Right. So like, I'd say Liat Mordechai from 24andMe, her husband's a co-founder. Ron Gura and Eyal Gura. Ron was at WeWork. He said whatever.
Sure.
Like, there are a lot of these. I wrote this list. I promise you first of all, I've never spent money on promoting content, but here I hit publish. I did nothing with this list, just hit publish. Within 24 hours, I had 45,000 viewers of this article. Why?
Wow.
Because everyone on that list, and their mother, and their father, and their sister, and their brother shared it. Because this person's on a list.
And then everyone's networks shared it and saw it and read it and looked at it.
And it blew up.
Okay.
There's a woman in the tech ecosystem called, her name is Inbal Arieli. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
Inbal Arieli, sounds familiar.
Yeah, she was at Modu with Dov Moran. She's an amazing person. Anyway, so on Yom Ha'atzmaut, on Independence Day in Israel, she always does these lists of, this year was 73, I think.
Okay.
Top 73 people.
Yeah, this year was 73.
Top 73 people in tech. Last year was top 72 people.
Right.
And again, it's done well. I mean, the list is displayed beautifully. It's a great thing. But it's just a list.
Right.
It blows up in traffic every year because everyone's so proud to be on this list. I have startups coming to me and saying, I want to be on, there's a list of, Kalkalis, top 50 start. I want to be on that list. I'm like, why? What is that going to, but people like to be on lists. People like to be interviewed. People like to stand on stage. So if you establish the stage and you decide who gets to stand there, you are now an owner of your space. Period.
And you get people to also follow you and to engage with you and to be on your site and to also follow the following content that you're going to put up there, right? Because it might not be the list the next time. It could be your feature on your article or feature on the CEO or whoever it's going to be.
Whoa. His coffee just fell.
All's good. Are we good on the coffee space?
I mean, listen, I can that's what you're bringing up is a good point, but that's just the content world in general. And that's a whole different topic that I could literally talk about for 3 months. But I'm saying specifically when it comes to quote unquote, for lack of a better term, self-promotion or building your brand, instead of focusing on yourself, promote others. Okay? Promote others, and then you will be promoted, right?
But I think that's something that's not talked about a lot, right?
Right, 100%.
Right.
And that's why I rolled my eyes when you said self-promotion. I'm not self-promoting. I'm promoting someone else, but I'm getting promoted, right? And like at the end of the day, that is you look at any brand. Does Google shout from the rooftop, we're the best in the world? No. You know it.
Exactly.
Because they're thought leaders. They think and they do things subtly, right? And every brand out there. You name any brand, that's Nike. Do you ever see Nike forget Nike, Apple. Do you ever hear Apple talking about specs of their iPhone? We have the best process. No, they don't. They're a brand, and they build a brand through, and by the way, again, not to get into the topic of content, but that's, even Apple, they're the most secretive company, right? I was at Apple headquarters in Israel 2 days ago for lunch.
Okay.
And I was sitting with a friend of mine, shall remain unnamed, and he said to me, just to show me how secretive Apple is, he said, the person in the next cubicle was working on the new iMac that just got released recently, last 2 weeks ago, for the past X amount of time, and he saw all these components on his desk. He was next to him in the cubicle. He wouldn't tell him what he was building, and he literally built the M1.
He built the iMac right next to him.
That's by the way, in Israel and Herzliya, we're doing crazy stuff at Apple here.
It was an R&D headquarters at that point.
I'm saying half my iPhone was built in Herzliya. It's crazy. But my point is,
so why is it so expensive? That's a different story.
Yeah, my point is, it's by the way, that's part of the brand. They're a premium brand, right?
Of course.
So even Apple now is embracing content. They're doing the podcasting, the tweeting. Before they were like, no, I'm not gonna do the blogging thing. We're Apple.
They were above the space back in the day.
But now they're so
exactly.
Point is, again, content's a whole different discussion. But at the end of the day, like I said, to build your brand, step out of your own universe and just stop thinking about how to promote yourself, promote others. In Hebrew, it's called firgun.
Right.
Just to give props, let's say in English, is the closest word. But
at
the end of the day, my whole entire business philosophy and my entire career was built on one simple, fundamental principle: help others win, and you end up winning.
But see, that's something I think that's lost in the business space sometimes because, a lot of people, we get involved in kind of the rat race, of I need to get better. I need to get the feature out there. I need to go to market. I need to be better than the next guy. And we lose that whole idea of kind of well, if you kind of help someone else, they'll help you.
Right.
And if you do it kind of from a space of humility and humbleness and modesty and say, hey, I'm literally just here to help. I don't care. You don't share this, you do share this. I don't care. It's good for me. It's good for you. It's good for the space.
100%. By the way, I want to emphasize something that's really important. A lot of people say to me, probably once a day I get this, oh, it's good karma. You're good karma because you help people. I'm like, screw karma. I don't go shopping and for groceries with karma. Okay.
Yeah.
Helping others win in business is good business.
Right.
Forget karma. You know when karma comes in? When it does, when that company that you just helped, doesn't end up working with you in a formal capacity, you don't make anything from that relationship. Okay, then it's karma. But that's not. My entire career, I can show you emails that would blow your mind from $2 billion valuation companies in Silicon Valley. Nothing to do with Israel. Nothing to do with any. Not Jewish. Nothing. But when they came out on, I'm not going to name names right now. But when they came out on the iPad 10 years ago, I loved the product, loved it.
Okay.
I started to write about it, promote it, blah, 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 whatever. I'm sitting at home minding my own business one day. Remember, this is a company in Silicon Valley worth billions.
Okay.
I get an email from the CEO. Hillel, it's time I thank you for everything you've done for us, blah, 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 blah. It's time we got you some stock and asked you to be a formal advisor. I'm like, what the actual? That's all my companies, dude. Every company I work with has come to me and said, listen, you helped us. We know what you're capable of because you showed it to us. You didn't ask us for money. We didn't pay you a dime.
Right.
But now we want to work with you because now we have money. Every company I'm working with is that way. I just tried to help. I mean, I'm meeting companies every single day. I'm going from here to meeting a company called Superfi for lunch. I've been helping them for, I don't know, a year. They're not paying me a dime.
Right.
And I'm cool with that. 98% of the companies I meet with, I just try to help. I don't want to. In fact, I'll tell you even more than that. If you don't think I'm crazy till now you really will. I connect these startups to investors who invest millions of dollars. The startup comes back to me and they say, here's your 5%. I'm like, I don't want your money.
You don't take it?
I don't take finder's fees ever. Why? Because when I take a finder's fee, it changes the dynamic of the relationship. So, for example, let's say you're.
But it's kind of like a complete relationship in that sense. Like, I've done this, you've done this, now we're done. Bye.
So hear me out. Listen,
Okay.
let's say you're a startup and you need an introduction. Let's go to the extreme to Mark Andreessen. Okay.
Okay.
Like I said, he's probably the top VC in the world. So, like I said, I've interviewed him. And we have a friendship. Okay. So I now send your investor's deck to Mark Andreessen. He will respond in 30 seconds because, again, he trusts me. Now, why does he trust me? Because he knows that when I send him a deal, it's the best deal, and I'm completely objective. I'm not affiliated. I'm not taking a 5% cut. If I take a 5% cut, he'll be like, okay, you're sending me deals because you want your cut.
Right.
But if I send him deals and I'm not taking a dime, he knows he can trust me. And that's true about anything. Same thing with journalists. When I pitch a journalist, I'm like, oh, it's Hillel. He's our colleague. He writes, we write. He's not getting paid for this. Once you start getting paid, it changes the entire dynamic. And I'll tell you more than that. Again, not only quote unquote good relationships, good karma, things that are like hard to quantify or why do I keep hitting the mic? Or abstract. This is what happens. I talk.
It's all right. You're a guy with hands. You're like me. It's all right.
I had a lot of coffee this morning. I had a Red Bull and 2 coffees. So not only is it an abstract, but it's a very practical thing because at the end of the day, this pays off. Again, whether it's I'm now working with 4 funds. They came to me and said, listen, you have deal flow. All these companies are coming to you. Why are they coming to me? Because they trust me. Why do they trust me? Because I'm not taking anything from them, right? My entire business philosophy in one quote-unquote mathematical equation, okay? When I focus my time and resources on value. Now, what does value mean? Value can mean introducing you to an investor, introducing you to a journalist, helping you with your pitch, helping you know your competitor, whatever I'm doing, okay? But I'm focused my time and resources on helping you and not on monetization, meaning you're not paying me a dime. Okay? Now, because you're not paying me, you have no expectations. I don't owe you anything, right?
And if at the end of the day, if you disappear, I don't care.
Right. And if I help you over and over and over again, and again, you have no expectations, all I can do is exceed expectations, right? When I exceed expectations over and over and over again, what I create is what's called delight, right? It's delightful.
Right.
Think about things in your life that bring you delight, you'd pay for them. So delight can be monetized. So when an entrepreneur comes to me after I've already helped them and says to me, he has hearts in his eyes, like in the cartoons, and he's like, hell, what you've done for it, now we can talk money. Now I have the leverage. Now I'm indispensable to you. Not pay me and I'll do something. It's like, let me do something. If you love what I did and you think I value, let's talk money. If not, fantastic. I'm happy to help. And more importantly, just so you understand, it's not abstract. Let's say you need an introduction to a journalist, right? You raise money, you want to get some coverage on TechCrunch.
Right.
So I write for TechCrunch. So you send me your press release. I'll ping whatever, Frederick or Sarah at TechCrunch.
Right.
I'll send them the press release. They're going to write the story because it's a story. It's a great story. So they're happy because they got a great story. You're happy because you got press coverage. It took me 12 seconds.
Right.
Who loses here? No one. Everyone wins. So again, like doing things quote unquote without money, being as we call it in Hebrew a friar,
right.
is actually the best business model. You show people what you can do for them, they will want you.
And in the end, it will monetize itself in the long run.
Every company I'm working with, every single one of them is a company that I met through someone, I helped them somehow, and they came back to let's work together.
I mean, first of all, I wanted to say that's some incredible advice because I think it's sometimes, first of all, I would not have taken that like right now in my early days of my career. I don't think I would necessarily even think in that way. Yeah. I will be honest with you. And
most people in Israel don't.
Yeah, I'm being totally humble. Even outside of Israel, I would say even outside of Israel.
I'm going to push back on that.
Okay.
Let me tell you a very practical explanation. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do in an informal capacity, just what I like doing, is getting people jobs. Okay, because I meet a lot of companies that are hiring. I meet a lot of people that are looking for jobs, and I just started to match them. Right, I have a little Google Drive directory in my Google Drive: admin, design, finance, HR, blah blah blah. Like, okay,
yeah, sure.
Thousands of CVs by now. All right, now each folder I have sent out literally hundreds of times. Companies say, I need a marketing person. I send them the marketing folder. I need design. I send them the design folder. There's only one folder in that entire directory that I think I've sent out less than 5 times. Business development. You know why? Because business development is whining and dining. It's building relationships. It's long-term. It's subtle. It doesn't bring immediate conversions or clicks. And so Israelis don't get it. They're like, I can do business development. No, you can't. It's a freaking skill. There are people in the world that are trained in business development. You cannot do this.
Right.
But in Israel, no startup has biz dev. No, they don't have such a thing. There's no role like that.
Right.
In Wix and in public company, in big unicorns, they have biz dev. Startups, they have marketing. They don't have biz dev because they don't understand the concept. And so it's a very very Israeli thing. Like, I feel like I'm ripping on Israelis. I'm Israeli. I don't know anything against.
We're all Israeli here. It's okay. You can rip.
I'm just saying, like in America, putting aside New York for 1 second, in most places in the world.
Yeah, from Denver. I'm from Denver.
There you go. In most places in the world, you want to switch lanes. You put on your blinker. The guy in the next lane slows down. He lets you in. Right.
Right.
What happens in Israel?
Absolutely not. It's a fight. It's a total fight. They speed up. You might hit the guy. You eventually get in there. You look at him. He curses at you, and all good. Right.
So you put on your blinker. The guy in the next lane speeds up. Why?
Because he wants to get there first. He doesn't want you in.
Why?
Kacha.
Because being a friar is the worst thing in Israel.
Right.
But you know what? Business development requires you letting other people into your lane. It requires not being self-promotional, not being me, but actually, like I said, whining and dining, building those relationships long-term. Those words, long-term, again, they don't really exist in most entrepreneurs' minds in this country. And by the way, I'm not complaining. I built a whole career on it, so let them stay that way. But no, I'm just kidding. But at the end of the day, listen, it's a very deep cultural thing. And by the way, if we had time, I would go into the historical, explanation of why this is. I really do believe. I'm not joking. Without getting too into it, like our nation, the Jewish people, we always had to survive. Right?
So we're in survival instincts with the startups in a sense.
We couldn't let anyone to our lane.
Right.
Because that would mean, we apply that to the culture, right? I don't want to sound like I'm dissing on Israelis.
We'll get that to the episode 2 when you come in for the next series.
Sounds
so,
good.
Hillel, I want to say, first of all, this has been an incredible amount of value for me. We're done. That's it. It's already there. I'm telling you.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I'm telling you.
Holy smokes. I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface.
I mean, come back for another one.
Done.
And so there you go.
Good.
I mean, I'm already happy to have the second one nailed down with you. And I really just want to say thank you so much for coming in. I feel like personally I've gotten so much knowledge. It's incredible.
I came for the iced coffee.
Yeah, and you stayed for the talk, right?
There you go.
And so we'll be glad to have you again. And I really do thank you for your time. And please, stay in touch.
Shout out to No Masks.
Shout out to No Mask. All right, it's the first podcast I'm doing actually without a mask.
There you go. Yesterday there was a video online of like a class of kids, and the teacher's like, "Okay, that's it," and they all like jumped up and ripped up their masks. I mean, if you think about it, I know we're done, but if you think about the surreal nature of the past year, like we're celebrating not have to wear a mask. What the heck? In what planet? In what world would you have ever believed that we would have experienced what we experienced this year?
Absolutely not.
Totally.
We're like four disasters also past Corona at this point,
Crazy.
So it doesn't matter.
Totally nuts. Anyway,
thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you everyone for watching and listening. If you would like to listen to more episodes not on our YouTube channel, please follow the links below to Spotify or Apple Music.